and I'm going to say this, and it's just great to be talking this way. Instead of looking for a win, I'm really looking for a loss. I need a loss in here on the way to the playoffs to make us re-identify, refocus. Not saying that they are not focused and everything, but I wouldn't have an issue with a loss and a reshake.
You know that voice. That was the playmaker, Michael Irvin, saying he's rooting for a Cowboys loss this week. Dallas has been rolling since beating the Redskins in Week 2 and have a 2-game lead in the NFC East. Stephen A., does Irv have a point?
Yeah, he does have a point, because if you go into the postseason with near perfection, it does elevate the level of pressure. So I definitely appreciate the playmaker, Michael Irvin, one of the few Cowboys I actually have liked in my lifetime. I love him dearly. That's my brother. But Michael Irvin, I believe that Michael Irvin did this to affect me. I think that Michael Irvin did this to get on my damn nerves, because he knows I was not going to let this slide. This is the playmaker sitting up there looking out for the Cowboys, you know, because he's a cowboy, like Jerry Jones said it when he was introducing the playmaker into the Hall of Fame. This is what he's trying to do. Michael Irvin is revealing that he is scared that the Cowboys are going to mess this up. Michael Irvin, this is the first nugget of information. The more that I think about this, Max, the more that it's hitting home for me. Michael Irvin is nervous. Michael Irvin is nervous. Michael Irvin is worried that the Dallas Cowboys are going to stink up the joint come postseason after getting everybody all psyched and happy and exuberant about this season. He is fearful. Michael Irvin is scared. I kind of like this. The more I think about it, let me just sit back here and reflect. Michael Irvin. See, primetime Deion Sanders, he's his own man. Even though he's a Cowboy, he's also a 49er. He's also an Atlanta Falcon. I mean, this is the dude. I mean, he's got several homes. Primetime's allergic to working in daytime because he's primetime, and that's the only time he should be on TV. Primetime. We understand that, so I'm not including him. But Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, not so much Troy Aikman because he's objective, but Michael Irvin especially. He seems a bit nervous. I'm starting to like this. This is a good sign for me. This might be the best sign I've received yet, that the Dallas Cowboys can end up being in trouble because Michael Irvin, the playmaker, full of guts and view and fury, this dude looks scared right now. He sounded scared there. I kind of like it.
And in fact, a little bit superstitious. All fans are superstitious because we have no control over the events.
Yes.
So we think things like, well, the law of averages, right? I mean, if they've won nine in a row, law of averages says they're going to have to lose sometime. Let's get that out of the way before the playoffs start, because that's a one-and-done tournament. I understand that, and I hope he's right, and they do lose to Washington this weekend, because the Giants play the Browns, a game they should win, knock wood. And if that happens and the Giants can pick up a game and retain that game by the time Week 13 rolls around, then the Giants play the Cowboys for first place in the NFC East. And though they would have a tied record, the Giants would own two wins over the Cowboys.
It's all about your agendas
right now. That's every sports fan's agenda. That's exactly right. It's basically superstition. And let me tell you something. The Cowboys are a fundamentally good team. I'm up here a lot talking about there are only a handful of really good teams and a handful of really bad teams. The vast majority of teams fall in the middle. The ones with the good records have gotten a little lucky. Yeah. You can talk whatever you want in football, the Cowboys' running game, their defense, whatever. And all that stuff tends to cancel out. You know who wins the game? +2 turnover differential. You're going to win the game. So if the Cowboys, someone like Michael Irvin's watching this, he knows safety pops someone hard, ball comes out, the corner or whoever happens to be in the vicinity and grabs the ball, that can determine the game. Even the better team, who's been playing better the whole game, can lose, and he kind of wants superstitiously, I think, to get the loss over with now.
I look at this differently. I think he's thinking of teams like the 2007 Patriots. And you need to get a loss. And you remember they ran the table and then they didn't win the Super Bowl. And we had the Panthers last year. They went on a run and then they had the loss to the Falcons that kind of refocused them. I think it's more from that. They're winning too much. Well, for last season.
But we're not going. We're not disputing that. What I'm saying is, overall, in the end, it's because he wants the Cowboys to win.
Of
and
course.
He fears that running the table for the rest of the season is going to put them in a perilous position. Yeah. Because that's all that matters to me.
They need to know how to rebound. They need to know how to rebound from loss.
So in terms of the real X's and O's of it all, you need to lose when you've been getting a little lucky to win. The Cowboys, by and large, have been winning not because they've been getting lucky, but because they're actually better than the other teams.
You know what this means? It means that I should actually root for the Cowboys to win the rest of their regular season games. Because the more they the more they win, the more the pressure will mount. And then the Michael Irvins and the Emmitt Smiths of the world, they'll be nervous Nellies. And then after that, the Dallas Cowboys will go on because it'll be a contaminating effect, okay? And then as a result, the Dallas Cowboys will go into the playoffs with all the expectations weighing on their shoulders. Also, they can reach that defining moment and then plummet. This is a good thing. Michael Irvin, thank you, bro. I didn't think about that. This is a beautiful thing.
There is a philosophical
This is a beautiful thing.
It's lovely. In terms of Cowboys haters, and this is the difference between Stephen A. and myself. Stephen A. would like the Cowboys to do really, really, really well, so the fans' hopes can be as high as possible. And then fail.
Yeah,
so
the
fall is from a greater height, and therefore the splatter is also
greater. I want to bungee jumping, and then the rope.
I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way. I want the Cowboys to lose every game they play. I don't want them to build their hopes up. I want them to stay completely demoralized.
I just need you guys to listen to a little something I have for you.
A mediocre team and Big D. That's what makes this funny.
I don't hear anything.
It's accident waiting to happen. Come on, you should know that voice. There it is.
So
you got it.
So the sound wasn't ready.
No, it was ready. You just couldn't hear with those ears. But you know what's going to be interesting? This is the first team that's going to have played them twice, the Redskins. Yeah. So they've already had a look at Dak, so we'll see what they do.
You know what they're going to find? They're actually really good. That's what they're going to find the second time they play them.
All right. Thanks to being drafted #1 and #2 overall in the 2015 NFL Draft, Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota will forever be compared to each other. Our ESPN insiders asked 5 NFL front office executives about which quarterback they'd want on their team right now and for the next 10 years. Quote, "I'll take Mariota over Winston by a mile. He takes care of the ball better than Jameis. He has a great command of the passing offense. Sometimes Jameis will make that horrendous throw that'll cost you, and then you watch Marcus run. He has a great sense of when to do it." I'll be for Jameis in this debate. I think Marcus has more around him. He has a better offensive line. They've built a great running game around him. I can argue the Titans are slightly better than the Bucs for weapons. With Vincent Jackson out for the season, what do the Bucs have other than Mike Evans? So the final tally was 3 voted for Mariota and 2 took Winston. Stephen A., who would you rather have as your franchise quarterback?
Jameis Winston all day, every day.
Famous Jameis?
And I respect the hell out of Marcus Mariota. I remember he was coming out of Oregon. Max, I was in Pasadena for that national championship game when Oregon destroyed Florida State. I was so disgusted at Florida State that day. It took me about 2 years to forgive them for looking like the garbage that they looked like, or at least a year, by the way. But here's the thing about Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston is a winner. I think that in different ways, their talents are somewhat comparative. Marcus Mariota is a little bit more accurate. He definitely, there's a minimal amount of turnovers compared to Jameis. But I do think he has a better running game. I do think that the overall Tennessee Titans are a better defense. I do think they have a better offensive line. And I think he has more to work with than Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is the kind of person that ain't going to go down without swinging. If he's falling, he's going to swing. Mariota's the kind of person that will sit there and kneel and come back to fight another day. Jameis Winston is going to fight to the finish, and he will go down swinging. That's not to knock Marcus Mariota by any stretch of the imagination. He's a worthy #2 pick. He's a talented guy, talented quarterback. But I think that they're relatively even in different ways, talent-wise. But where, to me, Jameis Winston is head and shoulders above Mariota is that Jameis Winston, to me, has that it factor that enables him to galvanize the troops around him for them to go all out and go out there and maximize the potential around him. And I think the records are indicative of that. Jameis Winston and Tampa are 5-5. Tennessee is 5-6. I think Tennessee is a better team than Tampa. The difference is that Jameis somehow wills it. And by the way, when you look at the turnovers, yes, Jameis Winston struggled a little bit. In the last 6 games, all of these turnovers, he's got 10 interceptions. In the last 6 games, he's thrown 2. This is what he does. He starts off rough, and then as the season wanes, he gets it together. I'm a Jameis Winston guy.
It's the big win over the Chiefs.
They're both going to be excellent NFL quarterbacks throughout the duration of their careers, and I expect them both to have productive careers. I don't think this is an obvious pick, but my vote will go to Marcus Mariota. Here's the real difference between them. Mariota's a better passer, and Mariota's a better runner. Like, he's better with his arm and better with his legs. Winston has a bigger, stronger arm. And Winston has a star quality that you mentioned about him. But I think most of the reason people tend to prefer Winston when they do, and I'd say it's about split 50-50 at this point, though to start the year, Winston had the wind at his back. There seemed to be momentum about his play. I think Winston is branded better than Mariota. First of all, he won the Heisman Trophy. He won a national title. He was the #1 overall pick. And in addition to all that, he has a Roethlisberger thing about him. Remember when Roethlisberger went 10th, when Eli went 1 and Phillip Rivers went 4, Roethlisberger went 10? There were plenty of people back then even saying there's something about Roethlisberger that looks the part to me. They turned out to be right. Roethlisberger is a star quarterback. So Winston also has that going for him. Big, strong guy with a big arm. Central casting for what you're thinking about as a winning quarterback. But when I actually look at what they do, in terms of what they do on the field, I prefer my quarterback to play like Mariota. I find him to be a more accurate passer and better with his legs.
Well,
I mean, how much? And he reads defenses at least as well.
In fairness to your point, I'm not refuting your point because you're wrong in this particular instance. I just think it's incomplete from this perspective. When I look at Jameis Winston, I ask myself, if he were in a situation like Marcus Mariota, what would he do? If Marcus Mariota was in a situation like Jameis Winston, what would he do? I think that Jameis Winston is playing for an inferior team compared to Tennessee. I look at Jameis Winston as the kind of person that adapts to the talent around him. If he has to do more, he will try to do more. If he needs to do less, he will do less. I don't look at him as a guy that just has a stronger arm. I look at him as a guy capable of making exactly the plays with his arm that Marcus Mariota makes. Without question, Marcus Mariota has more of a motor. He's got better wheels on him. There's no disputing that. But in terms of his arm, it's not just his strength, but his accuracy and all of that stuff. I think could very well be exactly what Marcus Mariota is if he had the talent around him and was asked to do it.
I don't know. I mean, I like Delaney Walker a lot, but as my primary target, I would take Mike Evans as my primary target over Delaney Walker.
You got Evans, but he's got Matthews, he's got Walker, he's got this kid Sharp, he's got DeMarco Murray coming out of the backfield that was running the football effectively. He's got a requisite number of weapons where he, along with Tennessee's defense being better, because Tampa Bay's ranked 25th against the pass.
Look over their careers and say who's played on a better team. I think Winston's played on a better team over his career so far, their young careers, than Mariota has. I agree it's debatable. I think part of the casting issue comes down to also who's their nearest comp. Like if I bring up Roethlisberger and Winston, people know what I mean. They're mobile, but not exactly fast. They're big, they're strong, they have big arms, they have these leadership qualities. What's Mariota's closest comp? It's not a guy who would inspire you as much. Is it an Alex Smith with a better arm? Like, what is that exactly?
Well, let me throw it to you this way. Marcus Mariota's in the AFC South. Jameis Winston's in the NFC South. Marcus Mariota's got Indianapolis and Houston and Jacksonville. Jameis Winston's got New Orleans and Carolina and Atlanta. Let's keep that in mind.
Winston, tougher
test. Those teams sound so great right now.
I think the NFC South is far more valuable than the AFC South.
That's not what the record says at the moment.
Who cares? Because they're playing each other.
It's a better division.
Yeah.
But Winston, tougher test this weekend. He gets Seattle's defense. Meanwhile,
NFC South is marginally
the
better than
Titans
the
gets
AFC South?
the Bears.
In what world?
Yeah, because everyone thought of the Panthers as this great team. It turns out they're not this great team. NFC South turned out to be a little overrated heading into the year. Let's be honest. I'm sorry.
They're still solid. Coming up next.